So far, I'd do another little dev diary here. I wanted to do one from inside the editor rather than the finished game to show some of the things I'm talking about. So, in the last episode, I showed the Bluebell ship bobbing around in a massive, artificially wavy line. Didn't look very good. But I've gone ahead now, and my spawn manager object has a series of different parameters to it. So, for example, the first one is what enemy type to spawn. So this one is the Bluebell. So I've got 3 Bluebell spawners, and they're each just very slightly apart from each other. And the way this works is when they become visible, they're going to start spawning enemies. And the criteria to the right tell us, in the second instance, number to spawn, for example. So it's 1, then 2, then 1. Gap to spawn is the number of seconds between each spawn. So I just played around with that until it looked how I wanted. Movement pattern. So in the spawn manager code here, in the start section, I have a bit of code that says when the spawn manager wakes up, look at the movement pattern that's been specified and then pick one of these. So number 3 was what we had in the editor, so that's wavy left. Wavy left then looks at another one of the parameters, invert Y, and just sets -1 or 1 based on whether that's been toggled true or false. Then it adds to a move list. It adds a destination, which in this case is always 2 to the left, -2F. And it adds a Y and Z coordinate as well. Then it's got a pass via. So the way this movement type is going to be interpreted by the movement script is that it is going to try and go from its current position to the destination position while passing through the pass via position. The pass via position in this case is shown as being its current X position and then a Y factor up multiplied by Y. So Y is another move parameter. So move pattern 3, invert Y is false in this example. Move parameter, so the different move patterns will do different things with this parameter. In this case it's 4. So the pass via will be 4 up. We're in a for loop, so it'll add that, then it'll add another movement target, and the destination is still 2 to the left, but the pass via this time is going to be -Y, which is the movement parameter, multiplied again by the inversion factor. The base speed comes from the parameters and it's multiplied up for this one because it's traversing such a small distance. Speed is a misnomer here, but I'm not going to bother refactoring all my code just to fix this code misnomer. Basically means how long it's going to take to complete the maneuver, not how fast it's going to move through that maneuver, although you do get that reaction by changing it. Bit of a pain to maintain, wish I'd done it a bit differently perhaps. So going back to the spawn manager for the first Bluebell, we've got this base speed, so I can play around with the speed at this level as well. The shoot style, so that is going to get passed to the individual enemy objects So they have a script here, handle shooting, and it's going to switch through the different shoot methods. So this was shoot style 1, which is called spray and pray left. So if we go to that, this is going to call a function called is player to the left of me. It's just a simple little check that the player's X position is to the left. If it is, initiate spray and pray. Otherwise, initiate simple shot. And to be honest, it's just a bit of fun. I'll probably just have nothing here. We'll come back to that, have a think. And then spray and pray is very similar to simple shot, whereby every frame it's going to make a random decision about whether it's going to try and fire. If it decides to fire, it's going to check if the shoot gap has elapsed since the last time it fired, and the shoot gap can be altered up here. So, for example, this ship is only going to fire 1 every second at the most. Having determined that, it's going to start a short loop, 3 iterations. And it's going to say the aiming position is going to be the player's X position plus and then the Y is going to be the player's Y position plus the current loop iteration, and multiply the spray factor by 2 and then take off the spray factor. So, for example, if the spray factor was 1, the result of this math would be 1 times 2 is 2, minus 1 is 1, and then multiplied by I. So the goal of that is to have the first shot be above the player, the second shot be right at the player, and the third shot be below the player. Not sure if this is a mistake. I need to reconsider this after the video. Just put a note here. And the Z is going to be the player's Z. The direction is then calculated as being the aim position from the current enemy position, and then normalise that to a vector. And then the look rotation will be in that direction. For a lot of bullets that won't matter, but this bullet it will. So we then instantiate the bullet, giving it the position of the enemy and the rotation. After that, the bullet script takes over. So I save that, allow that to recode, recompile. We launch this. We'll see the blue bells come on screen presently. And there they go, they're firing the simple bullet, spray and pray. And yeah, that eye is wrong because that should be shooting directly at me. So let's try fixing that right now. We just don't need that at all, I think. That's from a previous iteration of the logic. So we relaunch that. Now the bullets are all bunched up, which is wrong as well. So Let's think this through. Spray factor is the shoot parameter, which for this is 3. So we're saying 3 times 2 minus 3 plus y. Oh, okay, so I've got nothing in here for the loop. So this needs to be minus I, doesn't it? No. So this doesn't alter the logic, but it just makes it easier for my neat brain to read. So, and then we're saying minus 3 times 0 plus the current y, which I don't really care about. So that equals 6. And that's how it should come out, right? So we should get a bullet at the player's current y, and then 3 up, and then 6 up. So that's the mistake there, isn't it? So what we need to do is change this to be I plus 1. So then this becomes like this, which means that 6 minus 3 is 3, 6 minus 6 is 0, and 6 minus 9 is minus 3. So that's the spread we want, isn't it? So let's give that a save, let it recompile, run this thing, and let's watch the spray and pray happen. So ideally this middle bullet should be coming straight at me. Still a little off. I'm not quite sure why that is. So the aiming position is going to be the player's position. And then for that middle loop, we're going to get exactly the player's Y position. That is how it should be, right? But we're not witnessing that. Well, that's frustrating, but I'll put in some debugs and fix that later. The actual thing I was trying to show with running this was just that by using 4 spawners and that wavy pattern, it's sort of moved away from looking really artificial and horrible to looking a bit more organic and as intended. One of the other changes I've made recently is the bomb. When it hits the ground, the particle emitter is divorced from the bomb, which means the particles behind stay on screen a little bit longer. One of the things I've not been able to show off very well in other videos is Now with the size of this thing, you can see that when the bomb hits it, the fires come on at the point of impact. With the smaller ships, that's not always quite so obvious that that's happening. One of the early problems I had was getting the little ship to rotate. When it's just side on, it's quite boring. So what I did was I did routines that when the player is holding the down key down, it rotates the ship slowly up to 45 degrees. When it reaches 45 degrees, it ignores that the key is held down, it doesn't rotate anymore. When the key is let go, it slowly rotates back to normal, and then stops when it's back at that initial rotation. And I realised, if we watch the enemies on the top right of the screen, that I could just slap this code on the enemies. I had to do something different for if the current key is held down, but you can see that this ship here has rotated itself to indicate it's coming down the screen, and when it reaches the bottom, it'll fly straight again, coming to a normal rotation slowly. I've used a different maximum rotation for the enemy ships, and some of the models it just doesn't work with, because unfortunately the model creator used a different value for Z. They didn't use Z as forward on all the models, and it's going to be time consuming for me to try and learn Blender to fix that, or to redo all my prefabs. So that is not on the current agenda. I've made some more changes. So for example, let's put some more ships on here, and we've got shoot style 4 here. What is shoot style 4? That's on the enemy. So we have simple shot, which is the one that most of the videos we've used to now, where it just fires a single bullet straight at the player. Spray and pray and spray and pray left we saw. Left with variance, fire if facing. So let's have a look at fire if facing. So in this one, the enemy is going to use a raycast. It's going to go straight left from its current position, and if anything it hits has got the tag of player, it's going to call left with variance. So hopefully that's straightforward enough. The ship will only fire if it detects the enemy in front of it. Left with variance again has the sort of crappy do it randomly stuff, which again, this is probably going to get parameterized and put on the spawner at some point, what the value of this is, because probably with something that's shooting only when something's to the left of it, you probably want that to be 100%. Again, it checks gap between shots. The first time cannon fire is default to -1, so the first time it just fires straight away, and then the gap becomes enforced. And then it's going to do a little random thing to determine a Y value, and then it's going to multiply that up by the parameter on the spawner. So what's that set to? It's set to 1.5. Okay. And then it's going to use that Y value incorrectly, I think. So this should be the player's Y position, because ultimately you're going to say the target. Yeah, that's a error there, so let's rewrite that. So we're going to set Y equal to the random bit of variance we've just introduced into the current value for Y, and we're going to say add that to the player's y value. Then the target is going to be that y. Direction is going to be as such. We're going to create a look rotation down that direction, then associate the bullet at the current position with that rotation. I have briefly knocked up a new bullet that just looks more like a sort of slug. We can also set ammos on the ship, so each of the prototypes has a ammo of 3. So if we run this now and put myself in front of these guys, we should see they shoot, and there is variance about if they're going to shoot straight at me or above me or below me. Well, and you just saw one of the other things I've added since, that when the player ship is hit, it flashes purple briefly, pink. Looks less good on this model. Oh, those big bullets cause too much damage and kill me. Looks less good in this model because I'm just replacing one of the materials with the pink material. So I might get more fancy with that down the line, or I might not. Who knows? So because some of the ships don't rotate smoothly, I had to expose a parameter to control that on the movement script about whether to allow rotation. Okay, thanks for listening through my ramblings, and hopefully you weren't too disgusted with my code, because it is messy. No one else works on this project, obviously, it's just me. Thanks for watching.